Hi, guys, and welcome to the Kai's Corner podcast. I am your host, Kai Bologna. This is honestly a really exciting day because I have been talking about this for months and months and months that I'm going to create a second channel so I can video record the podcast. And this is technically the first podcast episode that is being video recorded. I don't know at what point in time this is going to go up and on the channel, but really exciting. And yeah, it's going to be amazing. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you normally listen to your podcast, if you want to check out the video format, it will be in the link in the description, and vice versa. If you're watching this auditorially, or if you're if you're watching this and you want to listen to it, there's a link in the description that will have the podcast linked and everywhere you can watch it, which is really awesome and nice. I am so excited. I feel like this is a really big step for me, and it's something I've been leaning on for the last little bit, and it's nice that I'm finally jumping in, and I think it's about time. You know what I mean? Today's podcast episode is something that I feel like it's finally time to talk about. And we're talking about relationships. I think relationships are such a big word, and it means so many different things that it's almost really hard because it's not tangible, you know? So for me, it's like there's so many different types of relationship. There are platonic relationships, there are romantic relationships, there are community-based relationships, and it's like I am in this world right now where it's like I have so many platonic relationships, and it's honestly so wonderful that I'm at this point in my life where I am creating that, and that's just kind of what's coming to me. Like, it's really wonderful. And I will personally say, like, I have some of the best friends right now that I've ever had in my life. Ever. And, like, some of the experiences I experienced with them are pretty crazy. But it's like, you know, we're all human. We are all hurt in some aspect. And we have to give each other a little leeway where we can. And it's like, as people, I think personally, right, for me in my experience, I think sometimes the hardest part about, like, having friends and having platonic relationships is that you have to really go back and forth, and you have to give a little here and get a little back. And it's like, I think that kind of goes for any sense of the relationship, but I think for me specifically in platonic relationships is like, okay, like we have to give each other a little bit of leeway and a little bit of space because we are just being human. We are literally just being human, and that's really hard. It's a really difficult situation to be in, like being a person. And it's like there's no right or wrong. I just think it's really important to be kind, and I think personally that's what's gotten me so far in life is like I just think it's really important to be kind to people and give other people that kindness. For a really long time, I really struggled with like people pleasing tendencies, and like I would just do this thing where I would people please and people please and people please, and then I'd be like, oh my god, but these people wouldn't do anything for me. And it's like now I have such amazing relationships where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna give you love and I'm gonna give you affection and I'm gonna give you respect because it's like I genuinely care about you as a person. But it's like then I know when the time comes, you're going to do the same thing back. And if you don't, that's when it turns into a communication aspect. And it's like, hey, this happened and this made me feel this way, and I don't really know how to feel about this because I don't like the way that makes me feel. And I will say, it took me a really long time to be able to get to the communication aspect of things. It took me so long to be able to talk about how I feel. Speaking of relationships, we're going to probably talk about my parents in this episode, so forewarning, I mean no disrespect, it's just how I've kind of taken my life and like how I viewed it. And it's like I grew up in a home where my parents do not talk about their feelings. We do not talk about their feelings. It's funny, I hug a lot now as an adult. I'm very huggy. I meet you, I want to hug, like I'm very physically affectionate. And one time my coworker was telling me, she was like, you always give the best hugs. And she was like, she was like, you just love a hug. And I was like, that's really funny. I probably didn't like hug anybody until the time I was like 18. I was like, nobody hugs in my household. Like me and my sister did, but like we have such a big age difference that sometimes it's really hard. You know, a lot of those formative years for me, she wasn't really around, and that's nothing against her. She did the best she can. She was also a child, you know? And it's like we had parents that weren't being the parents, and it's just like it's really interesting to sit back on and look at now is like, okay, all of these things happened and this is literally just my body's response to them. It's like a trauma response that I have, and it's just so interesting. Honestly, I would love to like look into my brain and just like understand everything that's going on. And I think sometimes that's the best part about like sitting here and recording the podcast. I journal a lot and I love a little self-reflection. It's like I don't see things that have happened to me. I don't see things that have happened to me as necessarily being bad or evil or like I think the things that happened and I will never be able to change those things and they've taught me something. And it's like that has taken me personally a really long time to learn, and it has been a really hard process. And for a really long time, I was like such a victim in my life. And like, you know, I think it's really hard when something happens in your life, especially when you're like a younger child. Like for me, I was like an adolescent. I was in like high school, and like you go to your parents and you're like, hey, this thing happened 10 years ago. And this is the situation. And they're like, no, that didn't happen. You're lying. You're making that up. They wouldn't do that. And it's like, oh. I think it also just gives you such a perspective. And like, that's my personal, like, it's hard, right? We all go through things that are not fun, that are not easy, and that should have never happened. But for me, I think it was really important to get out of that victim mindset. You know, for a really long time, I was like, oh, woe is me. Like, I will never have a relationship with my parents. Woe is me. Like, and it's like, yeah, I will never have a relationship with my parents. Or I will never have a relationship that, like, I could have had with my parents. And that will never change. So instead of sitting around and moping about it and complaining about it, what am I going to do to change that? Personally, nothing, because I don't really want that. But it's like something as simple as like, I don't need their approval now. I don't need that relationship now. And it's like, instead, in turn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the external sources in my life and I'm going to say, hey, I'm working on myself. I'm healing myself. I'm Kai. You seem awesome. Let's be friends. And it's like, I'm going to make amazing friends and I'm going to build my own family. And it's like, that's something for this last year for me that I have just seen grow and build and like happen. And it's so wonderful. Like I have such an amazing community of people around me and it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. And I love people. I don't know if you guys know this, but I love people. People are my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I'm a yapper. Let's talk. Let's hang. Like I do. I love people. And like I work retail and that's in my day job. And that's what I like about my day job is it's very people forward. And I'm going to talk to people and I'm going to yap. And it's like, I love that feeling. There is nothing that makes me feel more alive than talking to people. And like, that's the thing is like, I don't like to talk about my day job too much just because I work for a really big corporation that could fire me at any potential moment. And it's like, I am pretty high up in like my position or the position of my store. And that makes me really sad sometimes because what it takes away from is the people aspect. I went from like being people-y and like being surrounded by people to now it's more like office stuff and I'm working at a computer and it's like, okay, like I can't do this. Like it's driving me crazy. And it's like, I don't know where I see myself and that's okay. And the unknown is okay. It's not some big, scary, terrifying thing that we have to be afraid of. I personally am not afraid. I think it takes a lot to like really scare me. And like, like I'm scared. I'm a person. Oh, I'm terrified of life. But like, but like not actually, I'm so excited to just like live it and enjoy it and like relish it, We only get one life. And I think if there's one thing I can take away from my parents, and I've said this multiple times on the channel and like on the podcast, and it's like, I have parents that are so scared of being alive. They are so scared of living. They do not travel. They are born and raised in pretty much the same town that they live in now. And it's like, I don't want to be afraid. I refuse to be afraid to live. I want to thrive in life. And I think that's something that's really important to me. And I think that's something that's going to really flourish the relationships around me. Also, it's like, I don't know, the older I get, the more I'm like not scared to go talk to people. Like, I don't have to know you, but I'm going to go up and just start yapping. I loved, and also my biggest advice to you guys is find hobbies. Do things that you really love and enjoy. Like, go to like, you like pottery, go to like a ceramics class or something. And it's like, I'm sure you'll meet people there. Like, or you'll see people there like every week and you'll start talking. It's like, go do things. I personally am a big music lover. Concerts are really important to me. Festivals are really important to me. I see some of the same people there all the time. Also, I see people there that I've never seen before, and I'm going to go talk to them. If they look cool, I am talking to you. I met this super cool girl when I went to the Seven Wonders, which is a Fleetwood Mac cover band. They were like in my area, and I met this really cool girl named Maria who like is in college and like a couple towns over, and I was like yapping, and she was keeping up the vibe. And like I just met these like I've met so many incredible people, and it's like that's also the best part about life is like you just get to go out and meet all these awesome people. And like no person is the same. Like, yeah, like we as people are going to have really similarities. And like, right, we're both at this show. We obviously both like this band. But it's also like, we have so many things that are different. Like, and that's the best part. That is my favorite part. And platonic relationships for me are so important because it's like, I think I was taught my whole life that I was like, I need a boyfriend. Like, my parents were like, my mom was like, you gotta get a boyfriend. Like, you need somebody in your life. And it's like, I don't need that. I don't need that. Like, my mother and my grandmother, like, on both sides have also, like, settled down at a pretty early age. Like, my mother at this age already had a child. And it's like, could you imagine? I personally at this point in my life do not want kids at all. And that is okay. That is my personal preference. And it's like, what the hell? Could you guys imagine me with a kid right now? Because I couldn't. I absolutely could not. And it's like, it's just crazy. And we also live in such a different time. But it's like, I think for a really long time, like my family has definitely relied on like, it's very codependent. And I don't think that's fun. I don't think that's fun for me. I don't think it's fun for them. I don't think it's fun for anyone personally. I just think that relationships are so important to like us as humans because we are social creatures. We are creatures that want to be around other people. Like we do. And there's no avoiding that. We are literally just little baby creatures. And we want to be around each other. And I don't think that's too much to ask. I love people. You guys met me. You guys know. I love to yap. Let's yap. And it's like, I just think people have so much to bring to the table. And I think sometimes that's the best part too. I think when it comes to romantic relationships, I think that's where I struggle a little bit more. I think the past in me is very much like, oh, I've met you. You need to date me. And like, we need to, and it's like rushing. And it's like, I don't want to rush anymore. I don't need to rush. I am 21 years old. I'm about to be 22. And it's like, I don't need to rush. I shouldn't be in a hurry. I don't need that. And it's like that, and realizing that is like really wonderful. Because it's like, I'm not just going to hop in a relationship with anybody, you know? And I think that's really important. And I think it's really kind of crucial at my age. And it's like, I think it's really great to like finally learn and understand and like feel. Like, I would personally much rather be with my own company than somebody who's going to like treat me like shit, you know? And I don't think that's asking too much, and I don't think that's saying too much. And I will personally say, like, I have been through enough circumstances in my life where I trust myself so much where I would never let that happen to myself ever again. I will never be in a relationship with a partner that treats me like shit ever again. And I can say that with full confidence because I know that I will choose myself over every time. And it's like, I think that's so fair. And it's like, I don't think a relationship is a 50-50 split. Like, I don't think that exists. I think there are going to be times where your partner is going to ask more of you because they can't handle it. And there's going to be times where you can't handle shit and you're going to have to ask them for more of them. And it's like, I think knowing that you're going to be with somebody where you guys will always be there to support each other in that balance is really important. And I think that's really crucial. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You wake up in the hospital and like your partner could be there and they could not. And it's like, I think that's sometimes like a really interesting thought process. And it's like, I personally feel as I get older, I'm going to have a lot more health problems. Probably not for a little bit, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I think when I get like older, like I'm going to have like a lot of like mental problems. And it's like, that makes me kind of worried. I worry about like who I'm going to end up with. And it's like, but also it's like, that's the rushing in me. And I don't need to be rushing. And like, I don't need that. It's not good for me. It's the spiral, like I just get it going in my head and then I just start spiraling and I'm like, what am I doing? Where am I? What's happening? And it's like, that's not good for anyone. I just think when it comes to relationships that we all just deserve somebody who like loves us. Platonically, relationship-wise, romantically, whatever. Speaking of romantic relationships, I went on a date for the first time in like a while. And it was fine. I think sometimes I really struggle with dating. I think I'm really good at making platonic friends. I think sometimes I really struggle with dating. And I think there's a lot going on with me that I really struggle with. Like, I think gender is such a construct right now for me, where it's like, I don't really know exactly where I want to go from here. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like the things that I'm going to decide are also going to affect them in like a harmful way. Does that make sense? Like, I really want to talk to my therapist, but like I'm thinking about getting top surgery, and like that's something that's been on my mind lately. And it's like, okay, well, I would hate to get a partner right now, and then they not want me to get this thing, and it's like, okay, calm down. Like I just do this thing where I start spiraling, and you know what? That is not a good tendency, and it's not a good habit, and it's something I'm trying to work on. And that's why for me, journaling is so important. I love to journal. Like, I think writing things down and getting them out of my body, into the world, let it go. I don't need to hold this, and I don't need to bear it, and I don't need to hold this burden. And it's like, just fucking let it go. Like, literally, just let it go. And honestly, once you do, I feel better already. It's also like, don't be afraid to say these things. Like, I grew up in a household where my father does not talk about his feelings. Like, nobody talks about their feelings. But, like, my father specifically does not talk about his feelings. And the amount of times where I've been like, hey, you said this, and it makes me feel like this. And it's like, okay, like, I guess what I say doesn't matter. And I guess you're never going to have an opinion on my life. And it's just really frustrating. Also, it's like, I've said this on YouTube before. It's like, I came out as gay on YouTube. That is, you guys were like the third people I told, which includes everyone. Like, I am a queer person. I identify as non-binary. Like, and it's like, those are the things that like my family literally does not know. And like part of that is because like I think they're also running, you know? Like I don't think they understand what being non-binary is, or like the gender in that aspect, or even like really what being like a queer person is, but it's like I think secretly they do know, and it's something they're just like running from. And like it makes me sad. It does make me genuinely sad to know that I will probably never have a relationship with my parents the way that I would love to. I would love to be close to my family, you know? Like I've always dreamed of having like a really big family, and it's like, I don't know that that will happen, and that's okay, because I'm going to create the biggest family of them all, and that's like my friends and my community around me. And that's what's really important to me. If anything, I'd rather have people that truly love me around me rather than people who don't really care. And I don't think that's too much to ask. I don't think it's too much to ask that people genuinely love you and care and support you, because the people who do love you will do those things. And especially if we get to the point where we can communicate that to the people we love, they will always be there. You know, I have like five best friends. Like I could call somebody right now, which honestly feels really good, because a year ago it was not the same. Like there have been times where like I'm like, okay, like right, I live alone. If a medical emergency happened right now, I'm like, I'd be fucked. But I'm like, no, I wouldn't. My sister and her boyfriend live right here. There's a hospital, you know, I have great neighbors. I'm sure, like, I think I have also been put in this box where I've been taught that it is just me. I've been taught that nobody will ever be there for you. And I've been taught that it's like, you have to do it all yourself. But it's like, I don't have to do it all myself. I can't do it all myself. And that is not a bad thing to admit. It does not make me any less human. It does not make me any less strong to admit that I need help and I need support and I can't do it alone. And I think we have lived in a world for a really long time where, I don't know about you guys, but that's what I was taught my whole life. That like it was bad. I can't ask for help. And it's like, I'm now getting to this point in my life where I need to ask for help, and that's okay. And it's not a bad thing. And I'm so grateful and so lucky that I've created a community and I've created friends that like I can ask for help. Also, it's like, you know what, for me, like the best part about creating community is I have you guys. Like we have created this community and we are still building and we are still growing. It's like, this is something so new. Also, today is literally the 30th episode of the podcast, which I started the podcast a year ago. So I think that just says how inconsistent I've been over time. And it's like, for me this year, consistency is key. I really want to become more consistent and I really want to get my shit together. And it's just like, I'm so grateful that it's like, I get to have this. We built this community together over so much time and so much work, and we're still going. We're still creating. We're still creating this over time. And it's like, I am so grateful to get to have this in my life, because it's like, I deserve this. You deserve this. We all deserve this. We all deserve love and happiness. And like, nobody doesn't deserve that. And it's like, with the inconsistency in the podcast this year, like, I want to get on my shit. We are still creating new things, like, right? Welcome if you are seeing the video aspect of this podcast, because this is also new to me and we're learning over time. And it's like, you know, I am so grateful that what I get to do for work is so creative and so inspiring that I could do literally anything. I love that feeling, and that's why I want to do this. You know, this is art for me, and I am so grateful and I am so fortunate to be able to have this in my life. And it's like, I don't want to stop. I will never stop. And it's like, that's fun for me. And it's like, you know, I just got a notification on YouTube the other day that it is my 3-year anniversary on YouTube. I posted my first YouTube video 3 years ago. And that is so crazy to see. And it's so crazy because I'm at like 600 subscribers right now, almost 7, which is like so crazy because 3 years ago, I would have never thought. And like, yeah, maybe for some people, you're like, oh, that's literally nothing. And it's like, sometimes it makes me feel inferior, but it's also like 600 people is a lot of people. You know, I say this a lot. I could be making these videos for no one, or I could be making these videos for everyone. And sometimes that's okay. And that is okay. And it's like, I just want to make someone's day brighter. I want to inspire someone, and I would just like to motivate you guys. Also, it's like we are all human. I want you guys to understand my perspective, and maybe it'll help you out. Because 9 times out of 10, if I'm going through something, you probably are too. And vice versa, you know? I think we live in a world that's so contrary, where it's like people think they can't rely on other people, and it's like, I don't believe in that. I want us to all feel like we can rely on each other because we are just human. I think that is it for today's episode. I had so much fun. Honestly, filming this is so fun. I'm feeling so alive and energetic, and like also, it's noon. I'm doing such a good job. I love you all so much. Check out my channel if you haven't already at Bologna, and I will see you all next time. Bye.